Procrastination is not a laziness problem. It's a friction problem. Specifically, it's a friction problem that lives in the first 60 seconds of starting something. That's it. That's the whole battle. Not the hour of writing, not the workout, not the project, just the first 60 seconds. If you've ever sat down to work and suddenly needed to reorganize your desk, check one more notification, or refill a water bottle you didn't even want, that's not you being weak. That's your brain doing exactly what it's designed to do. Avoid a task that feels threatening, even when it isn't. So here's my promise for this video. I'm not going to tell you to try harder. I'm not going to tell you to want it more or to just push through. Because if that worked, you still wouldn't be watching videos about procrastination. Instead, I'm going to show you 3 tiny habits, micro habits, that trick your brain into starting without the drama. Now, if you watched my channel before, you know I talk a lot about the 5-minute rule. The idea that you commit just 5 minutes of a task and momentum takes it from there. That rule still works. It's still the foundation. But here's what I didn't tell you back then. The 5-minute rule only works if you can actually begin the 5 minutes. And for a lot of people, even 5 minutes feels impossible on a bad day. These 3 habits are the pregame. They're what happens in the 60 seconds before your 5 minutes even starts. Master these and the 5-minute rule stops being a struggle and starts being automatic. Habit number 1 is what I call the visual finish line, and this one is all about your environment, specifically how your brain perceives the size of a task. Here's the concept. Your brain doesn't procrastinate because the task is hard. It procrastinates because the task feels open-ended, no edges. Think about the difference between clean the house and clean this one shelf. One of those has a horizon you can see. The other one doesn't. Write a blog post is infinite. There's no natural stopping point, so your brain treats it like a threat with no exit. And it responds the way it responds to any threat with no exit. It avoids it. So here's the action. Before you start anything, physically define the end of the session. Not the end of the project, the end of this specific sitting. That might sound like I will write exactly 200 words. Not I'll write until it's good. 200 words, a number, a finish line you can literally see yourself crossing. Or maybe it's I will clear this one corner of the desk. Not the whole desk, not the whole room. One corner. Why does this work? Because your brain can only relax around a goal it can vision, and the target is vague. Your brain has no way to picture the win, so it can't get motivated by it. But when the target is concrete, 200 words, 1 corner, 10 push-ups, 3 emails, your brain can actually picture crossing the line before you've even started. And that mental preview is what lowers the resistance. This is why professional writers talk about word count goals instead of writing well. It's why trainers give you rep counts instead of working out hard. Concrete beats abstract every single time because concrete has an ending. So step 1, before you do anything else today, take whatever task is looming over you and shrink it down to a number. A visible, mistakable finish line. Habit number 2 is about your system. The actual mechanics of how you begin. I call this the low bar entry. Here's the shift in thinking. Stop trying to do the thing. Start trying to prepare to do the thing. This sounds like a small distinction, but it changes everything. Because most of us set the bar for starting way too high. We think starting means producing. Starting means the camera's rolling, the words are flowing, the workout's happening. But that's not starting. That's the middle. And trying to jump straight into the middle is exactly what triggers the resistance in the first place. So here's the action instead. If you need to film a video, your task isn't film the video. Your task is set up the tripod. That's it. Just the tripod. If you need to write, your task isn't write the article. Your task is open the laptop and type the title. One line. That works because of something called activation energy. The amount of effort it takes to move from a resting state into a working state. Most people think the hard part is doing the task. It's not. The hard part is the transition. It's the gap between sitting on the couch and being in motion. When you lower the bar to something almost embarrassingly small, just the tripod, just the title, just the shoes, you collapse that gap. And here's the trick. Once the gear is out, once the document is open, once you're standing with your shoes on, you're already in motion. The hardest part is already behind you, and you didn't even notice it happening. 9 times out of 10, once the tripod is set up, you just keep going. You are not tricking yourself into doing the whole task. You're tricking yourself into crossing the only threshold that ever mattered. The one between not starting and starting. Habit number 3 is about discipline, and it targets the real competitor procrastination is up against, which, by the way, is not laziness. It's dopamine. Here's the concept. A lot of procrastination isn't avoidance, it's substitution. Your brain isn't refusing to work. It's searching for a hint of stimulation because the task in front of you feels boring compared to what's in your pocket. And when your phone is sitting right there, one thumb swipe away, your brain doesn't even have to choose to procrastinate. It just drifts there automatically, the way water finds the lowest point in a room. So the action here is simple, and it's only 60 seconds long. Before you even think about starting the task, put your phone in another room. Or, if that's not possible, face it down, out of reach, somewhere that requires you to physically stand up and walk to check it. Do this before you sit down to work, not after you get distracted, before. Why does this work? Because it changes the entire choice your brain is making. With your phone in another room, the choice becomes a boring task versus doing absolutely nothing. And it turns out almost nobody can tolerate doing nothing for very long. Boredom without a distraction available is deeply uncomfortable. And your brain, given no easier option, will default to the task in front of it just to escape the discomfort of stillness. You're not using willpower to resist your phone. You're removing the option so willpower never even has to show up. So let's put the whole system together. Habit 1, the visual finish line. Shrinks the task so your brain can see the end before you even begin. Habit 2, the low bar entry. Shrinks the starting line so low that beginning feels almost silly not to do. Habit 3, the digital shutdown. Removes the competition, so your brain isn't choosing between the task and TikTok, just between the task and boredom. And once all 3 of those are in place, that's the exact moment the 5-minute rule stops feeling like a struggle. You're not white-knuckling your way into 5 minutes of work anymore. You've already crossed the hardest part before the timer even starts. Here's what I want you to do. Not this week, not tomorrow, in the next 10 minutes. Just pick one of these 3 habits, whichever one you think you actually need, and try it right now on whatever you've been putting off. Shrink it to a number, or lower the bar to something almost too small to count, or put your phone in another room just once. 10 minutes, that's the whole ask. And before you go, I want to know which of these 3 seconds was the hardest for you. Is it defining the finish line? Is it starting stupidly small? Or is it the phone? Tell me in the comments, and let's actually talk about why that's one of the hardest for you. Because honestly, that's usually where the real answer is hiding. If this helped you, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.